Hi, I'm Scott Jaschik, and I want to start by saying I really like this meeting. I get a ton of ideas at the AERA. I was talking to a colleague this morning on the phone, and I said, the problem I have is there are too many competing sessions now. So I say that at the beginning because I don't want you to get mad at me. Because now I'm going to say, you guys are losing the battle for ideas, and you are largely ignored in most of the world. I am an atypical journalist. Some would say a weird person too. But the point is the fact that I'm having a good time and finding lots of ideas here, I'm not running into a lot of other reporters. and so let me give you some examples to try to show why I think you should worry about this. Question, who is the education researcher who has been most written about in the last year? Bill Ayers, absolutely. No, not even close. Not even close. And here's why it should worry you. If all the articles have been about Bill Ayers' work in education, that would be one thing, but they're not. They're all about, basically, Sarah Palin is the PR woman for the Bill Ayers coverage. And so it's not about his very important work on the schools. That should concern you that he is the person best known as an education researcher. Let me give you another example. How many of you noticed outside on the outside the hotels and convention center, there's a poster that says, "Are you tired of the word discursive?" Did any of you notice that? And it's an invitation to go hang out with the AEI at a bar to talk education policy. It's actually very smart. No offense against the very nice people at AERA who have nice coffee and muffins for the journalists, but...
Was that Hess? Was that Hess?
Yes, Hess, yeah. You know, and he's sort of making fun of you gently and providing a different venue. I think that's really interesting. Or to build on the point of being your own PR person, again, I marvel at this because I go to a lot of scholarly meetings. Before I go to the AAAS meeting, that 2-week period, I am bombarded from university press offices saying, can we please set up a meeting with Professor Jones, whose groundbreaking research on X is going to come out. And our dean is going because we're so proud of Professor Smith, who's just transformed her discipline. Literally dozens and dozens of people briefing me in advance on the research being presented, trying to set up meetings. I got 2 emails in advance of this meeting. It is a very different mindset. You are losing the battle of ideas. Now, why is that? Part, I think, an interesting comparison might be made to the field of economics. And I say economics because I find myself increasingly covering education research by economists and going to the meeting of the American Economics Association to write about higher ed, which is interesting, I think. In fact, just today, as I was going through what I was going to cover today, I got a news alert from the National Bureau of Economic Research, which does a news alert for me on new research they do that affects education. The economists are arguably stealing your lunch. Now, why is that? Why does their work appeal to journalists more? One, and now, please don't kick me out. I think critics of education research portray education researchers as bleeding hearts. Likewise, critics of economics research portray economists as heartless. And you could argue about which would be better to be. And in fact, I've been at economics sessions where I want to say, well, but does anyone care about these poor people you were just talking about? Because it seemed awfully clinical. But it is striking to me, as somebody who attends a lot of meetings, that if I go to a session about affirmative action at the AERA, my assumption coming in is that there will be 4 panelists who will all be strongly sympathetic to affirmative action. If I go to a session on affirmative action at an economics meeting, my assumption is that I actually don't know what the opinions of each scholar will be, but likely at least one will be a harsh critic of affirmative action. Now, journalists, whatever our leanings, tend to trust groups that present a diversity of views. It affects the way we view the world. Likewise, there is a lot of research here that is quantitative, also qualitative. And as a journalist, journalists tend to be very nervous about qualitative research, which you see none of, say, at the econ meeting. And I will go to sessions here or sometimes read papers by education researchers where the title makes me think this is something I really should look into, and that's basically interviews with 6 people. And maybe it's a real significant qualitative study, but as a journalist, I shy away from it. And so there are a number of ways that you're disadvantaged. So how can you become the experts, become the people you get to talk to? One is you got to be accessible. And that means, to give you an example, I've been sending out emails to people whose sessions I'm missing saying, can you send me your paper? I have gotten a lot of helpful responses. I also get a lot of responses that say, I'm at the AARA, won't check email till I'm back. Okay, guess what? It's 2010. You gotta check your email every day. If you want to be called by reporters, you gotta check your email. It's just the way it is. Reporters remember who gave them a good quote. We also remember who responded